There's a picture of a jaguar up there. I wanted to be a National Geographic photographer ever since I was 8 years old. But I had absolutely zero interest or knowledge of animals. Black Star was known for social documentary work, and that's what I did. When I got out of art school, I did this kind of stuff. I worked with kids a lot. I worked for Mother Teresa, UNICEF. UNICEF used to give you a flat fee to go to a country, and you could use the money any way you wanted as long as you covered one of their projects. And this is how I started, doing pictures of kids. It's actually how I got into Geographic. They saw some of my pictures of kids. I went to Haiti to work in an orphanage, actually a hospice for children with HIV, and worked for Mother Teresa there, and did pictures for UNICEF. And that's kind of how I got my start. I moved from San Francisco to New York and started to look at how to get a portfolio together to actually realize my dream and become a National Geographic photographer. And as you all well may know, that doesn't happen very quickly. I came and worked and became almost like a staff photographer for Business Week. Did I have a picture of a dude in a tie in my portfolio? No, I had no pictures of people in ties, nor anything to do with business. But there was a photo editor. Oh, hold it. Oh, stop. No, that's a shitty picture. I won't stop on that. But it helps tell a story. It's called a point picture. So I was doing work for Business Week, Newsweek, Time, whoever. Back then we had pagers, and whoever answered the page first got the job. And so that's kind of what I did until I got this call from Black Star saying, hey, Merck is doing something in the rainforest on trying to find new drugs in the rainforest. And they want you to go down to work with the guy that Sean Connery played in the movie The Medicine Man. Now, Dan Jansen sure as hell doesn't look like Sean Connery, but he's the man that was trying to find new drugs in the rainforest and started Biodiversity Institute. And that's when my life changed. I don't like insects, but that's what interested me and the dedication and passion of scientists. I didn't know anything about it at all. But I went down there with my family to do that. My wife's a writer. She had 7 stories to do for Science Magazine, uncovering scientists. And I did my first animal picture because they said, hey, you want to go see an alibaba? I said, what's an alibaba? It's where all these turtles come on the beach at one time and lay their eggs. And I'd never photographed an animal before. And I got really nervous. How am I going to photograph an animal? Luckily, it's a turtle, and they're really slow. But I thought, do it the same way that you did kids and stuff. I used a lot of flash fill, movement, stuff like that. And luckily, there was an old grandma who is supposed to be in the water before the sun comes up, but she wasn't. I got this picture. I'd already started working at Geographic, came back, showed it to the editor I was working with. She said, we have a photographer who's been there for 5 weeks, staying in a hotel on the other side of the bay from where you were sleeping on this beach where he was working, but I was sleeping in a tent. He said, he doesn't have this picture. I went, okay, that's cool. And then I started working with scientists. This guy was capturing turtles to put a satellite tag on them, and off I went. I started at the kids magazine at World. They saw my pictures for UNICEF, a lot of color, smiling faces. They went, we're going to redo our kids magazine. Would you like to take over? And I said, sure, it's a foot in the door. That's what you're looking for, a foot in the door. I went to art school. Then I got my real education, no offense to art schools, by becoming an assistant. But that's where I learned what it's like day to day to work as a photographer and work with art directors and actually how you organize a story, because that's what I do. I tell stories. I'm a journalist. I'm not a wildlife photographer. The world does not need any more pretty pictures of animals because they're going too fast, and every animal and the people that live next to them have a story to tell. So I started trying to figure out how to do it. I've never used a macro lens before. This is a puny little red-eyed tree frog that I took it, had some Vivitar flashes, and then this became like t-shirts and posters, and it's still on the National Geographic credit card. I did this picture about 20 years ago. But I'd never done this before. But that's one thing about moving your life into whatever it evolves into, is I love the rainforest. My wife's now an environmental and science writer. None of us had anything to do with this kind of stuff. And for the last 20 years, I've spent most of my life in jungles around the world doing stories for National Geographic. But before that, how did most all of us get started at National Geographic? Working for German magazines first. How do you do that? When you're young, you don't have much opportunity to actually do, nobody's going to actually give you some money and go do a story. Well, they will when you get good enough, but instead, I met this vet. He worked at NYU's Biomedical Research Facility in Tuxedo, New York, and it was Dr. Ho, who became finally Times Man of the Year, but before he was Times Man of the Year and developed the HIV drug cocktail, the doors to the facility were open to me, and I did this story on my own. My own money, my own time. It ran 18 pages in Stern magazine, the largest magazine in Europe, when I got done. Those are the kind of things that you do, and that's what I did. Well, is Stern magazine at National Geographic? Back then it was. It's not anymore. But that's how we got our start, working for Geo, French, German, Italian, whatever, to get our feet wet, tell stories, learn how to do it. So I went there. This is the HIV lab with chimps. Tell the whole story. There's one of the places they had young chimps and a great primate vet. And I learned so much from him about animals, about how to tell a story and the relationship that we have to something as difficult as using animals in research. I didn't know anything about it either. But I had a picture, this one, and he's an Irish farm vet originally, and in his Irish brogue he said to me, "Steve, that looks like Jesus Christ crucified." I said, "Jim, if it affects you, it's going to affect the readers, and that means that I was successful." This is a Hep C project, so they're running, the chimp is out, and they're running a test about his blood through this blood machine, and just trying to isolate things and find out what affects people. That's what we're looking at, or I was here. The fact that chimps are like little kids, not having a background in it, everything was new to me, which I think in the end, when I look back on it, that was actually good. I was surprised that everything was all new to me. So it actually was a great way to begin. And then doing portraits of the man. But then during that first trip, I met a guy who then I gave pictures to because he was a great scientist. And he actually sent me an email back right at the beginning of emails and saying, "You know what, Steve, you gave me pictures without me asking." And I usually hate photographers because they never give me pictures even when they say they're going to. He said, "I got a great idea for you if you want to break into natural history photography. Quetzals in Guatemala. It's got a great cultural story to it." And so the magazine, I was working for the kids magazine. They gave me the magazine gave me some a Beater 600 manual focus lens. I went and messed around with some stuff, came up with a story proposal. That's what we do first. You find a scientist you can work with, find out if, you can get in the country you want to work in. You have permits that you need to work there. And write a shot list of what you're going to get. So what did I do? Went back and looked at old National Geographics and figured out a shot list. Even like inside the nest. How am I going to get you inside the nest picture? I don't know anything about wildlife, but I had met a scientist on the first trip down there that said, "Hey, you want to do an inside the nest picture?" So I wrote this. They approved it, and I went down and started my first story. I needed to get a flying picture of a Quetzal flying. This is how I got the story. This was for the kids magazine. This is coming along the forest and having the scientists say, Steve, come over here, look. This is perfect. Quetzals live in the cloud forest. There's clouds. There's a bird who didn't move for about 45 minutes. I can't tell you how many rolls of film I shot of this bird. Not moving, because it's like, well, this is great, it's there. I actually got a picture of this bird already, and I came back and nobody had ever seen this before, and so I got it. But one of the things is the Quetzal was called the winged serpent, or something like that in Aztec or Maya. So how am I going to get a picture of a flying bird? I've never done this before. I live in Hoboken. We have parks in Hoboken like you do here. We had a bird that we bought in Costa Rica that's just cotton stuffed with something. I duct taped it to a broom handle and had my 6-year-old son run around the park. And so I see if I could focus on the bird as he ran. Now that sounds stupid for a guy working for National Geographic, but that's how I did it. It took me 18 days to get that one image. But it was a double page in the magazine. I think that's it right there. Its tail wasn't long. It was only 1 meter long, and they're supposed to be a little bit longer to get that serpent look. But I got it, and my foot was in the door. I used a cardboard box and potatoes a couple days when it was raining and did 36 Polaroids of potatoes inside the cardboard box to mimic what this would look like. We built a platform at night, cut a hole in the back of the nest. Actually, the scientists took the chicks out, put them in a pelly case, closed it up. We cut a hole in the back, covered the hole, put the chicks back in so it was just the way it was, and left them for a couple of days and came back. I got 4 frames before the birds fledged and flew out because we weren't going to do it till they were ready to fly. Because this is science, we don't want to harm the animals in any way. I got 4 frames. The dad coming in with a little aguacatillo, which is what they eat, small avocados, and I got the picture. And so now I was on my way to being a National Geographic wildlife photographer. But here I wasn't really telling a story, I was just getting pictures of the animals. And as I went further in my career, I found out that we're conservation photographers. We need to learn how to tell a story. But one thing, before I was talking to Jaime, and he was asking me questions about how we came up with stories, part of it was economics and luck. This was a cloud forest. I was staying here all on my own, up in a shack on the top of a mountain. One night, I'm in bed reading my book, hat on. It's actually cold in a cloud forest. It's damp and it's, 40 degrees feels like below, 32. Got my gloves on, reading a book with a headlamp on, and I hear the stairs creaking. I'm all alone in the jungle. Then I hear the front boards creaking on the porch. And there were some problems with loggers not liking that Nature Conservancy bought this land, and they had attacked the father of the man that I was working with a gun and his brother. I was scared to death because I heard this creaking. Then I heard this scratching underneath the door. Then I heard, and the hair, every piece of hair I had on my head stood up. I whacked my machete that I kept next to the bed is like my weapon. And nothing happened. Then I whistled. And then I heard this bounding down. I picked up the radio, called Juan Carlos. They started laughing. In Spanish, they said, Steve, no problem. It's just a black jaguar. Well, I was scared to death. Needless to say, there was an outhouse a ways down the way. I did not leave the cabin that night. And then in the mud down the stairs were prints of jaguar. When I got up the next morning, it turns out the area I was staying was cleared so they could plant corn and put cows there, but they had to move the cows because the jaguar kept eating them. I'd been there for 2 months and they failed to tell me this. My next story was a jaguar, but I needed this last picture, got this last picture, and then if anybody would have asked me, are you going to do jaguars, I would have said, I know nothing about cats, But I found out that in over 100 years of National Geographic, the third largest cat in the world never had a story done about it. Now, as my wife told me a couple months later, as I was getting 0 pictures, there had to be a good reason why the third largest cat never had a story done about it, because it was too difficult. I was thinking I was going to use remote cameras, which we'll get into on snow leopards, but I found out, I saw this on the internet. This guy took the picture of the first jaguar ever in the United States. This was Macho B. There was a couple years ago or a year ago, you heard about some people in Arizona capturing this cat, scientist, and then it died of liver failure or a kidney failure. Well, this is the same cat. It was a cat that was found in Arizona. Jaguars aren't known to be in the United States. This guy was a mountain lion hunting guide. It's legal to kill mountain lions because there's quite a few of them. Happens to be the story I'm working on right now. First time I've ever worked in the United States in 20 years. So I call up the scientist that worked with this man. This man actually got in the press and said, I want to know, because I photographed the jaguar, whether indigenous, the Native Americans, ever had jaguars in their religious ceremonies, whether there was any paintings on any rock walls or anything of a spotted cat, or are they all pumas? So I thought, this is a perfect story. So I contacted the scientist, cold called this guy, Dr. Alan Rabinowitz, at the Bronx Zoo then. Now he's one of my best friends. I actually work with him at a big cat organization up on 40th and 5th called Panthera. Funny how life works. But this was a story. I wrote up a proposal. I gave him some situations I could do, and boom, I'm doing the first jaguar story. There's a picture of Alan down in Coxcomb, Belize, the first jaguar reserve that he founded. Went down to Costa Rica, where found a guy that I'd worked with in Costa Rica on that original time down there in Corcovado. There's jaguars on the beach eating turtles that come to lay their eggs. Well, I go down there, I spend 7 weeks, El Nino happens, water's too hot, turtles quit coming on the beach, 0 pictures. So I think my career's finished. I tell them I can do something, I don't get it. But here's the first camera trap picture of a jaguar. It's a remote camera. It's with the infrared beam and transmitter. The beam is right next to the camera, which is in a waterproof box on here. They use this as a scratching post, so I wanted to get claws coming right at the camera. I've wanted to get that a couple times in my career since. And the transmitter's right underneath his neck here. And when he crosses it, it starts taking pictures. Back then, it would only take 1 per event. Every time the beam was broken, it would take a picture. Now I can get up to 10 pictures. So that's how I started using remote cameras and telling a story. Here, you're not getting very many pictures of a jaguar. I found someone in Brazil that said, I can show you a place you can see him. I get down there, and lo and behold, he's getting ready to go back to Sao Paulo because he just got the biggest biological scholarship in Brazil right after I'm supposed to start working with him. But he comes with a box of skulls that a rancher gave him. These were 12 problem jaguars. I kill them all, 1 every month. And he says, you got 24 hours before I go to Sao Paulo, take these to the scientists, do DNA studies on them. And I went, perfect illustration for a photograph. How do I do it? What do I do with a box of skulls? Well, behind the biological station was a tree that fell over. I got these little Vivitar flashes. I just put them around the roots, and we got a picture. 12 jaguars in 12 months, and it helps tell the story of the problems with cats and cowboys. Cowboys think that every lost cow was killed by a jaguar, so every jaguar they see, they kill. There's a problem with living with predators and people that have livestock, whether it's in Africa, India with tigers, or jaguars in Latin America. So I'm actually learning how to think about cats and people that live together, or any predator, and the problems about coexisting. And so how to start telling a story that's just not pictures of an animal, because we don't need any more pretty pictures of animals. We need to tell the story of the environmental situation that we live in now in our world today. And that's our job as journalists and not wildlife photographers, wildlife photojournalists. Maya still have a dance called the deer dance that's supposed to work with jaguars, even though that skin is an ocelot skin because they have no more jaguar skins. Working with a project that was run by the Safari Club. It was a bad project. These guys hated the fact that this picture ran. They were actually capturing a cat to put a GPS collar on it to track its movements, find out if it went out of a protected area. But they didn't like this picture. They said, we're not used to working with live animals. I said, well, you should learn then and not drag the animal around. And then the last picture that I got. And then something that's just eye candy. Part of the story would be every time you see a story of animals, especially cats or something, you may see a picture of a cat in a Hollywood film or a TV show. Well, it turns out jaguars aren't known to be able to domesticate them. But I found a dude in Cancun that had Pepe swim with jaguars, that he used to train animals for Mexican movies, and he quit that. And around Cancun, there's a lot of big mansions with drug dealers that have tigers and jaguars around their swimming pool. After a while, they find out that you have to feed them a lot, and they stink because everything that comes in goes out the other end. And when you're around a swimming pool, you don't want to have it smell like a zoo. So they just let him go, and he gets them and rehabs them. And we got this picture here of swimming with jaguars in front of Club Med in Cancun. Now, my editor wouldn't even allow me to show this picture to the editor-in-chief, and I said, why? He said, because he'll run it. And you spent too long trying to get the first wild pictures of a jaguar to waste it on this. And he finally saw it. He's long retired now. We have a new editor, but that was a picture that is part of telling the story. Now, since I'm going to switch gears here. My wife's a writer. It's incredibly important, the printed word, to tell this story. I very infrequently work with writers, only because I started off with one story, Quetzals, that had never been done before. They sent me to Iceland to do a volcanic eruption. That wasn't the one that stopped all the traffic in Europe. It was a decade plus before that. And then jaguars. I found that if you did stories that had never been done before, when you put your proposal in, you never got a no. I had a family. I had bills to pay and a mortgage. And I thought, this is great. Do your research. Now it's on DVD. It's online, too. I would do research on stories that had never been done before, meeting people somewhere. I worked 9 years in Latin America, from meeting people that said, hey, this is a great story. You should do this. So I would just go from one story to the next. Some of them, they would send a writer. Other ones, I was gone for so long, they just wouldn't send a writer. I actually have 3 stories attributed to me, where I would sit down with an editor and talk the story. I love working with a writer. I did 3 stories with a man named Douglas Chadwick. He's written over 65 stories for Geographic. He's a field biologist, lives in Montana. And I think it's incredibly important to have a really good writer with you to tell that story. So sometimes yes, sometimes no, because I did a lot of work that I just went through just because I tend to talk too much. So I'd be in the middle of nowhere, and a guy may come in and spend a couple weeks, and if I'm in the jungle somewhere, they can't find me, or we'll spend a week together or something. But I wish they were with me all the time, because we'd have a better story. But I get a lot of time, the writing part doesn't as much anymore. Now, we had an email that came through after I did Jaguars, said, what's your dream story? Well, I read a book by Peter Matthiessen years ago called The Snow Leopard, and Stones of Silence, who was a scientist that Matthiessen followed. And George is the #1 zoologist in the world, did the first tiger project, the first lion, the first gorilla, and then a grad student named Diane Fossey said, hey, I'd like to take this over. And every project he did, he then moved on. Well, I thought about snow leopards as a picture of George. And so I said snow leopards. Now, snow leopards could only be done with remote cameras. And this is one of the pictures that I got. And every once in a while there comes along a story where it is like jaguars. Why are you doing this? But it was that whole thing about never been done before. And it was like, I can figure out a way to do this. I know scientists use remote cameras that are motion censored, where an animal comes up to this rock where they spray, and the camera starts shooting or a video starts running. I had to figure out a way that I could get a picture in my composition. The first time the animal broke the beam with its nose, that I would set up a composition, mostly me laying on the ground, because you never want to look down an animal, you want to look up or eye level with them. So I figured out if this would work, I would get an incredible story of the snow leopard, with a few pictures of the animal, and then tell the story about what the Himalayan people, how do they live with an animal that they really hate? Because it's an economic negative to them. They have land, they have livestock that the snow leopard kills and eats. And then there's a great project that actually gives money back to the community. So it worked in 2 places, Hemis National Park in India and Chitral National Park in Pakistan. So I went off to tell a story. I don't like mountains. I don't like cold weather. I'm a jungle guy. I spent the first 10 years before I started this, actually first 13 years in hot, steamy jungles, getting diseases and worms and stuff like that. And I'm not even going to show you this film. But the first thing I did was a recce. I actually got my editor going, hey, you put in snow leopard, and a writer put in for snow leopard, and Expeditions Council, which is part of the Geographic, is funding an expedition up the frozen river. Do you want to go? Well, it says you're going. He didn't ask me if I wanted to go. You're doing snow leopard, so you go. I said, well, what am I going to find on this? Well, I'm going to get into a community that lives with snow leopards, and I'm going to be around the environment, actually seeing a snow leopard, which the writer was kind of BSing him about. No way. But I met the man that cemented my success with this story. I work with local people. I said I worked with scientists, but local people, I'm a guest in their area. They know more about it than any scientist will ever know because they live with it. So we spent 2 weeks walking up a frozen river. And that's pretty much all we did. Was walk up a frozen river, walk over rocks, walk through frozen water. I knew we were going to do this, and we had a bunch of porters, so I brought waiters. And so I could get this picture, but it was a long way to carry waiters just to get one picture. And this guy didn't even take his boots off. And it was really cold. I fell through the ice, and you learn that your brain reacts in ways that we couldn't ever imagine because I put my arms out. And we got to a village and hung out and talked about snow leopards. What should I do? How do I really tell the story of this animal? Well, think about how you tell a story of a habitat, an animal, the people that live with the animal. I found out that the Dalai Lama was incredibly important to this species, and I got him involved. He was interviewed. If I was in India, he was in the United States and back and forth, but he was interviewed after he got the Congressional Medal of Honor because he actually came out and said, don't kill snow leopards. Don't kill wildlife. Look at the Buddhist tenets of respect for all animals. Being a cynical journalist, I wanted to find out if this was true because the local people were saying this to me. I found out it was true. But habitat's one thing you need. Too bad. It would be cool to see that. But I went up.
Are you teasing us?
Yes, I am teasing you because there's some real exciting videos coming up. So Snow leopards. I had 39 bags. How do you think about bringing 39 bags and what's in them? All these remote cameras, a whole camp, food, tents, backpacks, cots, sleeping bags, warm clothes for everybody. The local people I work with, they have to feel comfortable also. I don't want anybody being cold. Great boots for everybody, and warm pants and coats and hats and gloves and everything. I put it all in the budget. They approved it, because if we get a story that's never been done before, it's really good to show the species, and that's what National Geographic's all about. But all this crap had to come in on horses. It took 3 days to get everything in while I got acclimatized to the altitude. Canon gave me a 1200 millimeters, only 10 in the world, and there's one of them on the back of that horse. And the scientists that we were with, I bought a bunch of bootleg DVDs. So every night we had a laptop and iPod speakers. I bought 2 cases of rum. And the 5 guys I was with, I wouldn't watch the movies. Usually I'd watch part of them, had a couple rums, then I'd run to my tent because it was so damn cold. We were so high the first week, my propane heater worked all night long. Then we were so high there wasn't enough oxygen. I'd get the sat phone out. I call home twice a day. And now I can use cell phones most anywhere in the world, but I'll call home. But every night we'd have, they watched 007. We'd have old Tibetan guys going home. Old guys, they'd come in and see like a bikini on the beach on 007. They loved it. I remember the night that we ran out of 007 and somebody brought Mission Impossible. And the next morning I said to Tashi, the guy that there's a reason that it was successful, what'd you think of it? And he goes, Tom Cruise is no James Bond. I'll never forget that as long as I live. But what do? They spend all day long glassing, looking for prey, looking for snow leopards. Well, what I did was set up remote cameras. Find a trail. This is where snow leopards like hanging out in the Rocky area. That's how they can get the blue sheep and the different prey that they go after. They can't chase them on flat ground. But I would find a trail and place remote cameras where the snow leopard would go. The first day I put my first camera trap up, came back, had a cup of tea, and all of a sudden the cook started screaming because he would take a spotting scope and when he wasn't cooking, just look. And here's a snow leopard on the ridge with the 1200, duct taped to the tripod because the plate didn't have the right nuts on it. And this is what we looked for. Places where the snow leopard would come mark on a rock, spray, rub, something like that. I'd be guaranteed to get a picture. And set these camera traps up. This is one of the locations where I set them up. And this is that bit about having my composition. I would set a string down where the beam would be to try to get my composition, line it up perfectly. And this is kind of what it would look like. Transmitter, receiver, 3 flashes, and a camera. Everything's in waterproof boxes. So no matter what the weather was like, it would be okay. I asked Canon before I went, what are your batteries and the Rebels going to be like at minus 30 degrees? The guy from Canon said, tell us when you get back. Now that was not the answer I was looking for. And I was freaked out the first day we went. Well, this is the first picture I got after 3 days. Now, I knew we were going to get it. The picture sucks, but we got a picture of a snow leopard. So, but the great thing about digital camera traps is that I could see and then change the composition, the lighting, whatever. All right, 13 days later, here's a marking location. Every 5 seconds, it would take a picture because the flash had to recycle. I remember this dude telling me, BBC was here for 2 years. They never got anything during the day. And this is about half hour from me walking. He did it in 12 minutes. Here's another marking location on the same trail, same day. You're not going to get a whole lot. See, he marks by using his back paws and pushing the rocks. And I came to this location and the flash wasn't working. I said, open the back of the camera. The battery was dead after 3 days. I freaked out and said, Tasha, you guys are going to have to check these things like all the time. Well, one of the flashes up on the rock, see, there's a flash here, there's a flash over there. This one wasn't working. So we went and fixed them. The sun came over the ridge, hit the camera box. I went back to check the camera because I was all bummed out, and I looked at the battery, it was full. Lithium batteries need sun. As soon as they warm up, they're fine. So the next time we fixed this flash, the only reason the cat came by was because he didn't see the flash the first time, 5 days earlier. And he came up just to look at it. He never came back to this again. He went around it, and I'd only get the end of his tail over there. So this is what it was like. It took me 5 hours to walk up to the point where the camera traps were. My camp was down here. I'm not a really good mountain guy. You know, 5 hours is a long time to walk to check a damn camera, in my estimation. But we got it. I remember setting this up because I found a trail where 3 trails come together into one. Perfect place to get a cat coming. And I was like, well, I can't even see to, compose it. What does the background look like? But it started clearing up. And that was the first picture I got. Like a Himalayan bunny rabbit or something. And that was the image that we got. We got one frame. This was on the Snow Leopard operating system of April. And when I looked at the back of the camera, I literally started crying. Because this was the closest thing I could ever imagine. I'd already got the Rubin pictures, but this was just beautiful. I didn't want to miss the cat's eye, but the transmitter has blinking. And if 3 blinks, then it takes the picture. But for some reason, it wasn't set. I mean, it was malfunctioning. But it's not a bad malfunction. So I was getting lucky. Things were happening. Oh, what was that? Oh, I'm going to say that's a marmot. That's what they eat during the summertime. I just threw that in. There's a red fox. So you get these other pictures. This is, my wife calls this a sheepy goaty thing. This is a blue sheep. This is what they eat. It's not a sheep. It's not really a goat. It's kind of a very ancient type of ungulate, like a deer or goat species. And this is another marking location. I don't know why that goat came by there, a blue sheep. You do all kinds of stuff. I used to do a lot of night photography, so this is just a shot of the monastery. I'm staying in this village. Sometimes there's a monastery. Always think of ways to get pictures people haven't seen before. That's the only way we're going to make it, especially in wildlife. My job's always to come back with something you haven't seen before. You know, from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, we are bombarded with images. Most people could care less about whether tigers live or die. I just spent 2 years on tigers. Snow leopards, they don't know anything about it. How can we get pictures that make somebody think more about it? Everybody talks about Darfur. You hear George Clooney say it, and movie stars that are famous. Not that you ever hear anything from the NGOs working there, but how do you get people to care? My job now is I do wildlife. Before I did UNICEF and stuff like that, but I have to come back with something unique. I have to get my editors to say, wow. But I want the public to say, wow, even if it's just a picture of at night. So, religion. Dalai Lama says, don't kill snow leopards. Well, how do I get religion in the picture? Am I going to go to Dharamsala to get a picture of Dalai Lama? That was the plan, didn't work out. This picture, I loved. It was just the guy on top. I'm melding religion and landscape in one shot, even though I was doing the same with snow leopards. Photo illustration is part of National Geographic also. I would see monks go by a skull in the monastery and pray. Well, they don't have any snow leopard skins up. So we found a guy that killed a snow leopard. He said, before the Dalai Lama said not to do it, I told the head abbot, do you have a young monk I could use that recreates what you all do with the skulls that you have in the monastery? Because they didn't have a snow leopard skull, I could maybe use that. But photo illustration is okay because the caption then talks about what I'm saying. How often do we have a positive religious message in any story, whether it's about killing wildlife or people killing people for religious reasons, which we hear in the news all the time. So I wanted to do this. The guy was super nervous. Oh, here's some Buddhist pictures. This is the monastery. I spent so much time with these guys. It was cool. It was after a festival. And so these are some of the things I have to do, is figure out what the hell's under these sticks since the piece of stone is gone, and whether I'm going to make it. It was actually easy. Stuff like falling in quicksand, that was part of another story. Those are the things I don't like. Getting charged by animals or having tigers want to kill me. That's part of the job. And it's actually an exciting part of the job. But here's some more pictures you see along the way. We're walking 5 days to a village that's having all their animals eaten by snow leopards, wolves, and bears. I get there, they sold them all 2 weeks before. The only thing they have left is something a snow leopard can't kill, which is a yak. But still, we get a picture of the herder who sold all the other animals, and that runs in with the story. And you talk about why you don't want snow leopards to end up like this. One that was stoned to death. They dig a hole that's like a wine bottle or a big bottle like that. They put a little sheep down in there who is crying all night long. Snow leopard jumps down in it. It can't jump back out. They don't have guns or anything, but all they have is rocks. They stone it to death because it killed 45 animals of someone. Now, someone that only has animals and barley, if a cat comes in and kills 45 animals, 2 of them are with 2 of the 3 horses he has, they have to get rid of that problem animal. We may not like it, but they have to. There's no other answer. No one's going to pay them to not kill the snow leopard, which is something they try to do in Africa with lions and things like that. It doesn't work. I could go on and on about, now that I work for the world's largest big cat organization also, but they don't want to end up like this. So I need to somehow tell the story of how science works. This is not my image, but I show this to talk about snow leopards and science. When I did this story, it was only 6 years ago, no one knew the home range of a snow leopard. That was 2006 or 7, and we don't know where an animal goes. The scientists have no idea. So I go there when they're trying to capture them, put collars on them. And this is the guy I worked with. And these are data points. And here's a picture of how they're trying to capture the snow leopard. Here's the snare right here. It goes right next to the snare, pees right next to it, and then leaves and never gets captured. But these are the kind of camera traps that scientists use to get information about where the animals are. And then pictures, what local villages do. How do NGOs that cover snow leopards, how do they help the local people? Well, they came in and vaccinated all these animals under the guise of snow leopards. USAID pays for the vaccine. People lose 25 to 30% of their herd every year to disease. They hate snow leopards, but an organization comes in that wants to save them, pays for something that really puts 25 to 30% of their income back in their pocket because they're not losing animals to disease. So we try to find a way to make pictures of this. May not be successful. We knew they weren't going to use them, but I use them for lectures to help raise money. Tourism. People don't get hard currency, but there are trekkers walking around. It's run by the Snow Leopard NGO. They get 500 rupees in their pocket for every person. Snow Leopard NGO runs it. That's $12 in their pocket for every person under the name of the snow leopards. Help them to build predator-proof corrals. That's just a picture of the cat biting my transmitter. And it was the last picture after that camera was up there for 2.5 months. Now you don't think that's weird? That's the last picture on that one where they rough. This is my birthday present. This was shot on my birthday of a cat spraying on this rock. And what I was trying to do here was light it like a diorama at the Museum of Natural History. Because you think about, what are you going to do with a camera trap image? How am I going to light it? I have 3 flashes. What am I going to do to make this look different and interesting? I need the help of the animal who came by at dusk. And these kind of things happen also where nothing works. Flash doesn't go off. It doesn't happen very often, but I did get this image, which was the opener of the story. I want, some people love this because it's the longest tail of any cat in the world. I set it up during the winter time and saw this is the only shot that we got. This was 1 frame in 6.5 months on this camera. But it's beautiful. I wish his paw was in it. But 1 frame in 6.5 months. I kept trying to take this camera down, and the village headman kept saying, Steve, don't do it. You'll get a picture. You'll eventually get a picture. And then this image. It's not where I thought the cat would go, but I won BBC Wildlife Photographer of the Year, and we did not publish this picture because I only got 1 picture of a snow leopard in the snow, and we picked my birthday picture. Now, why you only get 1 picture of an animal called the snow leopard in the snow, I have no idea. But this got to go out and get more people to understand snow leopards. Let me move on here. Now, his nose is cut off, but whatever. As I go in my career, I think more and more about what I do and how you tell stories. So this is where tigers roam. I went to a park in northeastern India, and I looked at it and went, you know what? This is like all parks, surrounded by people, and in this one they have 80% of this animal. 80% of the remaining one-horned rhinos left in the world. So I thought, hey, here's another story. You know, this could be a park anywhere in the world. And I wanted to cover the guards, the people that live around it, people that have elephants come in and eat all their rice that they grew that they're supposed to eat for the whole year that's eaten in a half hour, a couple days after they just got it, and they want to kill the damn elephant. Tigers that come in and eat their 1 buffalo that they have, that they get milk every day to feed their kids and then sell a little bit what's left. And to get pictures people hadn't seen before. But this is another camera trap picture. I got the story approved. I went when the park was closed after the monsoon, when the animals could only walk on a few trails. This rhino had been mating with this rhino, and it's a violent affair. So it's got blood running down it. He may have been fighting with another male. But no way do you get pictures of a rhino this close and this intimate except if you use remote cameras. The picture of the tiger going through the reeds, I'm photographing that from the back of a Jeep. But trying to find different ways to get different pictures of things we've all seen before. I call this Dino Rhino, because the rhino had just come out of the water. You get 1 frame, it's at dawn. But it's a landscape that shows this park. And it's got a little grass hanging out of it. It kind of, you know, its horn was dry where the rest of it's wet. And talk about the guards. These guys walk around, get killed all the time by rhinos, elephants. Rhinos come and break their leg, because rhinos don't use their horn, they bite. So try to tell their story.
Still coming. That's it. Coming? I didn't get it. No. I didn't get it ramming the car as I was trying to hold on.
No, of course not. I don't think anybody got anything. That was me saying it, my assistant going, I don't think I got it. It's like this happens like that. We got attacked 5 times, that our Jeep smashed because the rhinos chasing us. They're kind of animals that like their space and don't like us being in it. We had opportunities to go to locations nobody else could go. That's my job, to get permits to go to places where even the director of the park would not go with me because he didn't like being chased by rhinos. I didn't either. I got attacked on an elephant. The guard lost his gun. That's another video. We probably don't have time to see it, but that's another tease. So, you know, I get rhinos fighting each other. But these things, I spent 5.5 months in this park beating my head up against the wall trying to get pictures. The weather sucked. They couldn't burn the park. Usually they burn the park all at once. 3.5 months they couldn't burn the park because it was too wet. Mother Nature's not the same way it is, but you have to come up with pictures, and I don't give up. I just do not give up. I put a remote camera on a bamboo poles with a pocket wizard so I could get the tusk and the trunk and a rhino in it, because there's always a guard that walks by the elephant, that the guards are on elephants, big guys are on top of the elephant, the new guys are walking. So I want to see what they look like. Well, it turns out rhinos hate cameras on bamboo poles. That's why we got attacked.
Lost the gun! আগত ক'ত যাব এতিয়া এঘণ্টা পলালে কমান লাগিছে মাইলেই
It's the most scared I've ever been in my life, because the rhino was actually jumping up trying to get Hjorko, took the bamboo pole and jam it in the rhino's eye, and he's jumping up. So I go like this, like a press shot, like that, and the elephant turned like that, and I flew off the elephant and my fingertips grabbed the seat. Or he would have killed me first. I mean, you don't want to be on the ground with the mad rhino. So here's some more camera trap pictures, elephants. All right, I said, what happens? Elephants come in, they eat somebody's rice crop. I need pictures of this. You got to make friends with the heads of the parks, with everybody you work with. Director calls me and said, Steve, you got to come photograph this. Homemade bullets, somebody soaked in acid, somebody shot this elephant, took him 3 days to die. They're praying over it because it's sacred. It dies in another person's village, but this is an important part of the story. You're not going to be there when they poison a tiger and her cub. You may be. I don't want to be, but I won the Global Vision Award for 40 pictures from this story, and it went all around the world, and it gives a discussion going about humans and wildlife and how they live together. So you're looking for pictures, and you're in a situation and to try to tell a wildlife story in a different way, poaching. So you go out with the director when they poach, cut the horn off, cut the ears off if it's going to Dubai. How do you make a picture of it? The guy calls me up and says, we caught the poachers. You go down, they got their hands tied, got them blindfolded, this dude's crying. Not hard enough, because I wanted him to cry, because that would have been a good picture. Because these guys killed 20 rhinos before they were caught. And this helps tell the story. The fact that the park is surrounded by tea that's been there for over 100 years. And the fact that the poison they use to kill tigers is just poison they use to put on the tea. And nobody monitors it, so someone will take it, pour it on the carcass after they kill it. Tiger comes back 12 hours later to eat, tiger dies. Here's smiling tiger. It's not really smiling. Tigers don't smile. But, you know, I wanted to take this picture because I saw cubs, tracks of a female and cub here. 1 o'clock, this picture's been all over. It was on front of the museum for 6 months, like 20 feet across by 10 feet high, the museum in Washington. So it helps people to see something they haven't seen before. I can't be here. You know, the tiger's like looking around, what in the hell is that flash? He's looking, everything's camouflaged, he can't see anything. But if I can get the next generation to go, wow, that's a cool picture of a tiger, and maybe think about it, you know. And now I just did a whole tiger story, and that was in the December issue. Look at tigers differently. Scratch trees. They scratch as a form of communication. So I put a camera trap at 14 feet looking down at the tiger and the beam this high. Elephants kept hitting it, rhinos kept hitting it, and we just kept fixing it. But I'm looking down, hey, it changed. But whatever, I got a different picture. It never ran, but still I got a different picture. So I think I'm done. I need another hour. But one thing I love, I super love, oh God, the desktop's so screwed up now. Hell, if I wanted to show you tigers, I couldn't. Yeah, I can, because I know what the first picture looks like. So as we ask questions, I'm going to show you, as a background, one of my favorite tiger pictures that just ran in the December issue of National Geographic. Now, this is a beautiful, once-in-a-lifetime picture of 2 cubs. They're big cubs. This picture gets to run with a real-time caption. She just killed 2 people. Gets his story behind it. He and his brother killed a native park guard. Now they live in a zoo, or not even a zoo, in a holding center in Bhopal. These tigers live on the edge of the park. Their mom taught them to go out and periodically eat cows. The park did a smart thing by reimbursing the people for any animals they take within 48 hours so they don't poison the cats. So Smasher's gone. I named him Smasher because he would always smash my camera traps till they quit working. Till that flash quit, or he didn't hear the clicking from the box, even though it's in a box, it's waterproof. And I hate that Smasher doesn't live there anymore. And she still lives there. But she killed 2 people by accident. You know, in India they eat a lot of betel nut. It's wrapped in a leaf. A woman's collecting leaves. That's how they make money, but they come right into the park to do it. She happened to be laying with her brothers. They went, one SWAT killed her. Someone came to ID the body, and he had deli belly. It was a brother-in-law. Told him, don't go that way, because that's the trees. He went that way, right where she was. She killed him, too. But if you don't eat them, then you don't get removed. So that's a nice background. I mean, it looks like a super pretty picture, but listen, they all have stories. We understand the story. We find a way to save tigers. I did tigers because there's a great project out there through Panthera where I work, and now Save the Tiger Fund that used to be at Exxon is now run by Panthera because they have a project that actually works to save tigers. Millions of dollars have gone to tigers. That's how I decided to do this story. Where are all those millions of dollars at? Tiger numbers have been plummeting. Well, here's a tiger project that actually has a goal. So that's how I write the proposal. It was set up on a business model. How could you not have a conservation project without a goal? You're supposed to save tigers. Well, a lot of organizations have big buildings and big staffs. They don't have boots on the ground to save tigers, so that's how I wrote the story proposal. The written word may not have said exactly that, but it almost did. And the story, a lot of people say, is depressing, but it's real. And there's a couple pretty pictures of tigers in there too, and some unhappy pictures. Thank you very much. Ask me anything you want. Workflow is super important. So is backing up all your stuff. It's really hard when you're out in the field. You need a daisy chain. When I did Snow Leopards, I had 6, 7 copies of everything because we lost 2 drives in one day. Luckily, we had 5 drives backing it up. That was altitude. I've never lost a drive to humidity or anything, but I have to bring small Honda or Yamaha generators with me. They're only 26 pounds, and so I put them on elephants. I've had people that carry them, because 23 pounds is not that much. I've done expeditions where I've had 80 porters and stuff like that. But I have good assistants that are much more organized than I am. I got ADD or more. I'm really good at taking pictures and organizing stories, but once it gets past the visual, that's it. No, I can tell everybody what needs to be done. We have a very important numbering system at Geographic, and everything has to be done that way so we can find it. We can't do any photoshopping or anything like that, so the numbering has to be perfect in case somebody goes, hey, how'd you get that frame? Well, you want to see the one before or the one after? And it has to be perfect. But you have to be sure that everything's backed up, because we got tens of thousands of dollars on these stories or more. And, you know, you have to have things backed up because that's why you're there. Video is an incredibly important part of every story now. We have a very popular iPad edition, the web, and as still photographers, you know, we need to be able to do video multimedia. I mean, I use the 5D for video a lot, a whole audio setup and everything. There is no more. Well, there's a few. I mean, we just had our seminar last week. I mean, I look at some of the photographers that are there. No, everybody. Eugene Richards showed something at Works in Progress 4 days ago on Friday. Amazing audio and stuff like that. Everybody, you know, you need to do a little bit of everything, because our job is storytellers and to tell stories about things that we believe in and show it to the world. That's our job. You know, every story has a dream shot. I had a dream, you know, so every story's got a dream shot. So I get done with tigers. I get there on tigers. I get on tigers. I get into India. We spend all the money to get there. And there's 2 sets of tiger cubs. One mother's poisoned 3 days before I get to the park. The other one is hit by a car a week before I get there. So what was my dream shot? I come back.
What was the question? Dream shot?
No, dream shot. So I come back. I do a whole tiger story with no puny cubs. You need the, you got to have it. I mean, you want kids, everybody to get into it. So I convince them they're small cubs, supposedly. The park lied to me that they knew where the den was. They sent me all the way back to India. I don't bring an assistant. I'm trying to save money. Because the driver's a friend of mine now, great guide. I convince them to send me back because I don't have awe. I get there, there's no den. I found the den. The cub had killed 2 people the day I arrived. I couldn't get on an elephant. I spent 17 days trying to get cubs and I'm not getting them. But there's a cub. There's cubs running. There's cubs running. But these are the cubs running that I'm trying to get, but they're scared. So then we find a mother. Here's a picture of me sitting on an elephant reading my Kindle. Hours, day after day after day. There's Mom right there. The elephant's in here. I need the picture. They sent me all the way back to India. 17 days I can't do anything. It was actually longer than that because I was only there 28 days and I got this 3 days before I left. There's Mom a little bit closer. There's a cub there nursing, but it's on the other side of Mom. The elephant can't get up higher. There's the cub looking. There's looking at something else. There. Every story's got a dream shot. I told you I cried at snow. I cried like a baby when I got this because it was 3 weeks with nothing. I didn't even know I took this picture. I had to ask, did the cub come on this side? The tripod's cable tied to the elephant box, 600. I'm sitting there reading my Kindle doing just some, wide angle shots. You're focusing, you're checking the light, but you just boom. I do everything on manual. I've never used automatic in my life. And I get the shot, 3 frames. 2 of them sucked because the elephant never stops moving. Shot at 600, 1600 ISO, f11, I think 250 or 180 or something like that. If I could think of a dream shot, I've never got jaguar cubs, but the dream shot to me is something that makes you cry. I got 5 skinned bears that they didn't want to run with a guy walking in front of it. We saved the bear in Kamchatka. We got $100,000. They were just shooting them left and right, guaranteed hunt. I want a picture that you don't want to look at. That's my dream shot. Picture like this I really need, and it's going to live for a long time. But I have a picture of a tiger on fire that people don't want to see. I have a picture of skinned tigers people don't want to look at. Those are the pictures I want because I can't get people to care about the fact that this project's actually working. There's not that many tigers left. They're going to be gone. They won't be because this project works. I need to get the breeders to care. The kids that look at ngm.com and make it the #1 animal website in the world, and #3 organization for social networking is Geographic. #1's Facebook, #2 MTV, #3 National Geographic. Did you know that? I didn't. Till I found out from the editor-in-chief. That's cool. It's because of education and the worldwide pull of Geographic. So it's kind of a weird answer. But through my career, every time I got a picture people want to look at, it does something for that animal or the people involved. And so it's a long-winded answer. Shit, when I was doing Kaziranga, I got all the 5 species, elephants, rhinos, water buffalo, everything on the Serengeti plains of India. I was shot with a 600 with a 1.4 on it from a guard station. They wouldn't run it. We don't do long lens stuff anymore, Steve. I mean, the closer you get, the more intimate it is. They want that wide look, But I've got to the point that I just love it. I'm snow leopards. It's like, I need a picture of the animal in its landscape, tell the story in one. I mean, it's not brain, surgery thinking what pictures I get. I was blessed to get those pictures, but it's wide angle stuff, close up. I mean, I'm getting the 800 for mountain lions because it's another cat that they don't want to see, even though you'll see pictures now and then of someone in there looking out their kitchen window and there's a mountain lion out there or something. But those are right place, right time. But yeah, I do them all. It's all about how you do it. You think about a million different ways to do it different. Use slow, use a parabolic flash, use a Q flash with a big dish on it and it shoots a beam of light. I got a lot of pictures like that. It's really cool. Find a way to do it differently, so like in dawn and dusk, you find a different way to do it. I haven't done that a lot lately, but you're always trying to find a way to do something completely different. And that's how the editor goes, well, I haven't seen that before. And to get someone at Geographic that's been there 35 years to say, I haven't seen that before, that's for one of your other goals. Interact with writers. I like from the get-go to start talking to them, because I want to be on the same page as they are. Like I said, of those, have been 2 stories that haven't been my own stories that I wrote the proposal. So you want to talk to them from the beginning and say, this is how I envision it. What do you think? but it's great to be on the same page. And hey, 2 brains are better than 1, 4 eyes are better than 2. That I need to learn from them what they know and what they find out, because there's an awful lot of research that goes into all these stories, and it's just great to find someone that is looking at it from a different angle than you are, and to learn things, because maybe there's a picture there, and getting a better story is the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is getting a better story always. So, thank you very much.